Good morning, afternoon or evening, and welcome back to another 0AD Alpha 23 replay commentary analysis. Today's match is between thankforpie and DoctorOrgans. Now, thankforpie doesn't actually have a rating at this point, but I believe it was around 16 to 1700, and DoctorOrgans is on 1885. So we've got thankforpie will be the Ptolemies, DoctorOrgans will be Spartans, and it's very much a case of a plan versus a player that's got potentially more ability, but maybe is not aware of the plan. I'll leave you to figure out which one is which, although you're going to figure out very, very quickly because I'll probably point it out quite a lot. So anyway, why don't we watch and see what happens in this one? And so the action begins in the bottom sort of left-hand side here. We can see as the Spartans, we have DoctorOrgans going for your standard 6 women approach. This is interesting. I think these should be set to actually chop some trees rather than just stand there, but he's got his spearmen actually to build the storehouse, the farmstead, while the women actually collect berries, and you see he has finally got these guys chopping. So that's it's a bit of a mistake at the start, but it's a matter of a few seconds, so it won't make a huge impact, even though every second does count in the opening stages of 0AD. So that is still an important factor. What it has allowed him to do, this interesting approach has meant that he's able to produce 3 women rather than the usual 2 that you'd be able to get with the food if you did it the other way. So that's an interesting thing that I've learned, and it might be something that I begin myself. And you can see here he's also building this his first house. Thankforpie, he's playing the Ptolemies. Again, if you watched my Ptolemaic Civil War series, you'll know that he has a very, very clear approach. One thing that Thankforpie really has to his advantage is that he has just got he knows what his strategy is. He knows exactly how he wants it to work, and he does get it to work. Everything is like timed to the second. He knows exactly what he's trying to do. So you can see he's got these 6 people building houses. He'll no doubt have timed that, but he has got the recommended individual house builders going on as well. So he's got 4 of those. I have to say I normally use 3 playing Ptolemies, but this means that he will, if he's faster at producing, then he'll be able to have the house capacity to get that going. So it's a good and interesting approach. He's sending how many people off to chop wood? It looks like a barracks this early. Wow, that's a very interesting thing. I've not actually studied this to that extent. I mean, you can see DoctorOrgans is slightly ahead in population, but that's fascinating that he is going for a barracks at the point when he won't have sufficient resources actually to even to produce consistently from the civic centre. So he's producing 5 at a time. If we just look from his perspective, he's down at 40. So how much food will he have by the time these 5 are done? If he's only got around 250 food, and I doubt it's going to be that much more. He's only got 4 women collecting. He hasn't gone for the baskets or the berry upgrade. What is it, wicker baskets? And he's got the 1 field. That's a very early field. He could have sent those people to collect these berries, and he's at 120. So I think it's interesting actually that he's gone for food quite so early. I think if he had not gone for this barracks, which he can't use at this stage, he'd have 100 more wood that he could put into going towards this upgrade, the iron plough, or the wood would actually pay for the wicker baskets, which would get him food more quickly. And with Ptolemies, because you don't need as much wood, the food is a really important thing to be looking for early on. So I do think that is it's interesting. It's not how I would have played it, I have to say, but what I will say is that Thankforpie does have a very, very clear strategy. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he plays that strategy out superbly. What you will find with him is that he does tend to get into a situation where if he's playing multiple games against the same person, they can disrupt this. So it looks, certainly as things are, DoctorOrgans is not making any effort to rush, for instance. And I think that's one of the other things about Thankforpie that you'll notice, that he always plays a medium map, which means that you're that much further apart, and so you're less likely to find yourself on the receiving end of a slinger rush or any kind of cavalry rush as well. So he's gone for this approach. If we look, he's taking advantage very, very well, and that is of the skirmishers in that they require less food. So only 25 food will be required for a skirmisher, as opposed to 50, and the remainder of that 50 is made up of metal. So he's sending these guys off to metal. So it is important to get a good ratio of food, and producing women from your town centre. They can then be used to produce food or to chop wood, and you ideally are going to be trying to use your skirmishers to collect more metal, because they're going to do it more quickly than your female citizens are. So he seems to have this well under control, and you can see, as I said, about the way he works. He's got this down to a T. This one's producing, this one's producing, always producing, and he's just fallen slightly behind again in terms of the population. But he had moved into a population lead, so he's done very, very well. I really like actually watching his games, because he really is able to, through just sheer consistency of approach and the fact that he works kind of almost on muscle memory, able to really bloody the noses of some really, really good players through that. So there's a lot to be learned from that. I think it can be considered, I mean, certainly it can feel quite a bit of a soulless way to play if you're just kind of doing things almost in a mathematical basis. But on the flip side of that, you know, there is an essential element of it that if you work these things particularly well, you can overcome someone else's ability to, for instance, micro better, or to work out which combat is the best one to take and move people in and out of situations, which is very difficult, particularly at higher levels of the game. So if you don't have a particularly great micro skills, if you're not good at raiding, which is absolutely critical later on in the game to become really one of the top players, then knowing what you're going to do when, having the right ratio of people collecting each resource, knowing which buildings you're going to build in what order, everything like that, that's where thankforpie is brilliant. I think he's kind of a good example for people generally. This little fight's going to be close. I think if thankforpie's not careful, he's going to lose. He could, yeah. This is where, though, as you can see, not having a clear strategy. These women, if they attack the horse, they could probably kill it, but they're just going to watch. You see, as I was saying earlier about the idea that he's working on muscle memory, the fact that he's not reacted to this kind of implies that that's the case. He's so focused on exactly what's going to happen, where he wasn't able to respond to that little threat until he'd lost 2 women and his camel. So that's something to bear in mind. You do still need to be responsive, and that's where he certainly has been found wanting when he's playing the same person over and over again. But this is the first game between him and DoctorOrgans, so on that basis, see, he's moved 11 points clear, 11 population clear, sorry. But on the fact that it is the first game, DoctorOrgans may not know what to expect from thankforpie. If you watch any of his games, you'll see he's following exactly the same strategy to the letter every single time. I won't ruin it for you by telling you exactly what that's going to be, but you can see right down to this that he's got exactly as many people as he wants on stone and on metal to keep on producing. He's slightly fewer ahead. I mean, Ptolemies, they have the advantage of the fact they don't require wood for houses or for the basic buildings, which is a great advantage over other over civilizations. But buildings take ages to produce, and you start with pikemen. They're so horrifically slow. It's ridiculous. So they can be very frustrating to work with. But anyway, we've followed his builder early on. He's doing well to move people across now to this next wood line. So let's see what's happening over at DoctorOrgans thing. Looking very nice little array of houses. He's got he's producing skirmishers, which makes me think he'll go for Brasidas as a hero, and he's producing skirmishers there, and he's got a handful of spearmen, so the hoplites will do a decent job. He's already got he hasn't got the basket upgrade. Sorry, I thought he had an upgrade there. So he's got the wood cutting upgrade, which is is very useful, and in terms of his farming, he has the first farming upgrade, also very useful. 7 fields, plenty, actually absolutely plenty for this early on. In the this will get him through to phase 2, those 7 fields quite comfortably. What's his makeup, his ratio of women? So you can see he's probably 60-40, almost exactly. He's 57-41 in favour of women at this stage. I doubt he'll produce many more women. If any, he's quite comfortable. They would be sufficient to man those fields and to also get a bit of wood cutting going on. Some houses going on around here. These are good locations within the range of the civic centre, so they can't be captured. And they also, if he is going to build fields, on this side of the what do you call it, of the farmstead, then it's a good. They're useful if he is doing that, because if he comes under attack, he could easily put the women inside a house and keep them safe. So he's going for, I think, a second barracks. Yep, he is. thankforpie's gone to phase 2 very early. That's something that he does tend to do, and you'll see there's the market, there's the blacksmith. What else is he producing for his 2 building? He needs 2 more buildings to progress, and once he's got the market, he will no doubt trade to get the resources required. He's always fond of moving as quickly as possible through to phase 3. You see he's got a population advantage. How many? He's got 8 fields, which for a 200 population game, that's more than sufficient. That will even give him capacity to make some elephants, which no doubt he will choose to do. That's I've just given away part of his strategy. He likes elephants. And this is interesting. So DoctorOrgans has got a small group of soldiers coming up on the outside. thankforpie, I believe, would be completely unaware of those. He's still not scouted even the entirety of his own territory, which is not good. That's one of the things that happened by him losing the oh god, there's a double attack coming in. So I thought he was going to try and maybe build an onward expansion, but actually he's trying to interrupt thankforpie's development, and that will certainly do it. This is the critical thing with Tolly as well. It's keeping on top of the house building, making sure that you don't get pop capped. And he now looks like he's going to. Look at even how well he stopped his soldiers there. That's great play from DoctorOrgans. He's kept his soldiers just outside the range of the civic centre, but thankforpie is having none of it and is maintaining an excellent production. His economy is still going nicely. These guys could do with getting another thing around there, I have to say. That would be helpful. And he's chasing these soldiers out, and these ones are coming back for another run. So what are his other 2 buildings going to be? There you go, the house builders have been killed, which if thankforpie doesn't do something about very quickly, he's going to find that really does hamstring him somewhat. So he's got 2 more town class buildings. What are they going to be? I would think that he would just produce a couple of towers if he wants to just be as quick as possible. The slingers in here now that he's already getting. Stockfish will realise very shortly that this is not a fight he is going to do well in, and well, he's finding that out right now. He's pulling people around here. I feel like he could be doing more. Okay, there's one tower, and is this the second tower? This tower, I don't understand that location at all. It's not protecting any resources. It's not protecting. I mean, it kind of protects that, but I would have preferred it to be over here covering this, but I'm not sure actually. Wrong person. thankforpie doesn't even know those additional resources are there. That is one of the negatives, let's say, of him working kind of on muscle memory, is that he's not reacting to what is actually happening in the game, and it's one of the negatives. Exactly. If they had the tower around here, this would be protecting this right now. But he's sending a lot of slingers and skirmishers, and they're going to make short work of these guys if they're not careful. He's actually given up on that. And DoctorOrgans has moved into a slight population lead as well by virtue of that. But he continues to produce, and it looks like there's been no trading done so far, which is interesting because that's something that thankforpie is very, very good at. I mean, anyone who has played the game before, which I assume you all have because you're watching this, you'll know that if you're the first person to trade, you're going to get the best prices, because inevitably at the beginning people are trying to trade away wood and food and trying to get the mineral resources as quickly as possible. So it won't take very long. I mean, if you play any of the 4v4 kind of multiplayer games, then you'll certainly know that it doesn't take very long whatsoever to find that those things go, they decrease in value. The resources you're going to have a lot of decrease in value very, very quickly. So there you go, you can see him now. Food, he got 409 stone, it went right down, and he's just bartering stone for food because he's mostly been collecting metal. And so what does he look like in terms of resources? He's going to phase 3. That was sufficient to get him through there. He's going to be at phase 3, and with that will come the need for some kind of onward expansion, and this is why he is such a fan of the Ptolemies and also the Seleucids, because they do have the military colony, and that fits in really well with his idea of getting himself on the enemy's doorstep as quickly as possible. You don't need as many resources. Also, both of them allow you to train heroes from the civic centre, which is great. I can imagine that we're going to see it. Actually, I think he goes for Cleopatra generally, but Ptolemies have great heroes. I personally am a fan of Ptolemy the Saviour. We've got the fortress, so with that comes the siege weapons. He's still not got a hero. I would have thought that would be one of the first things he would do, but he's left that. But you can see actually he's well aware that he's got lots and lots of metal, and the fact that there's just so much around his base, he's in a great position with that. But the thing that that Ptolemies have is a lot of mercenaries, so he is going to want to get that metal going. He's almost pop capped, but I think this might actually give him a population advantage that's higher than that. The pop bonus is 10, so that will take him through. He's at 190, this will push him to the 200, and then he's ready to go. So he's bartering to get some more stone. That might be for catapults, that could be for another fortress a bit later on, or sorry, a bit further up. He's not got any of the upgrades yet. I would have expected him to go for those. From my point of view, I really like to just get the armour upgrades early on. If you can get the pikemen are so heavily armoured that if you can get inner formation, the pikes and some slingers and some skirmishers just kind of marching towards the enemy in the box formation, they can really make massive impact and become very difficult to take down, because they the armour on the pikemen is just fantastic. So DoctorOrgans has noted now that this has happened. It's siege towers. He is a fan of siege towers. I personally am not. I think they're just a bit rubbish. That's a bit blunt. They're not rubbish, that's not fair. They're not as useful as other things, particularly when you're playing, I have to say, against the Spartans. They've got swordsmen. They're going to chop through those in no time. So if you're actually playing against Ptolemies, then you lack sword cavalry and you lack really decent swordsmen, except through the mercenaries in your military colony. So there's a real risk that you can't take them down. They become almost impregnable. But if you're not in that position, then you're definitely in a very, very strong position to take them out. They move very slowly. They're not particularly manoeuvrable, and to be honest, I'd rather just save the money and get some catapults. But that is, that's the nature of the game, isn't it? It's the beauty of it. You can play in multiple different ways. There is no right or wrong. There's just well, in some ways there's actually not better or worse on a fundamental level, but there is some things are better to do, like develop quickly, create a higher population, and so on. So those are objectively better, but your actual strategy, there's not one strategy that's objectively better than another. So as you'll see in a lot of thankforpie games, his strategy in itself is not better than another strategy. It's just that if you're not prepared for it, you may not use the right strategy to counter it, and that is what tends to happen. So he's got Cleopatra going on here. She's going to offer him a big bonus to his people fire more quickly, which is again why I would have thought he'd have gone for catapults, because then that's really helpful. The catapults are firing more quickly. I'm not sure exactly how that works with siege towers, but that I've not really thought about it before. But if it turns out that then the arrows fired from the siege tower are fired whatever it is, 15%, something like that, more quickly, 20% more quickly. So yeah, that then you are getting a lot more arrows out. Particularly, I think the top for a siege tower is how many? Gosh, I can't remember. I think it's maybe 15, 10 to 15 arrows. If you're firing those more quickly, then yeah, I can see what he's doing now. Okay, so we've got DoctorOrgans. He's still at phase 2, but he's moved in to take this metal, which is going to be very useful for him in terms of producing Skiritai commandos and his other troops. And we can see 6 Skiritai, and from this one a further 6 Skiritai. So you've got plenty of Skiritai coming, which is good. But what he doesn't have is himself at phase 3, so he's got no hero, and he is going to come under quite the assault. He's sending these guys, thankforpie that is sending this attack first, and I think from DoctorOrgans' perspective, he doesn't know this is coming, and he knows now, but you can see this is quite a lot of people. He was hoping to send those Skiritai out, it looks, to his second expansion that he's got here, but this is not a nice thing to see coming towards you. But the Skiritai will take, you'll see the siege tower will go down relatively quickly. I mean, look how quickly it goes. This is just half a dozen Skiritai. They take it out in no time. That's why I'm not sure they're so useful in this situation, certainly against this. And Skiritai are so heavily armoured as well that the pikemen are going to be effectively useless against them. So these siege towers are not doing what I would have expected. But what he has, well, he's not producing from any of his barracks, which is he's pop capped, so that's good. But it's unforgivable to not produce from any of your barracks at any point in time. You can see all the siege towers, all that investment gone. This is for me why they're not particularly helpful. If you've got anyone that's got any kind of capacity to counter them, they crumble, and that's exactly what's happened. The only thing that I think might be to the advantage there is that if they're marginally more quick than the pikemen are, then you could transport them there, but I'm not even sure they are quicker than the pikemen. Might be ever so slightly. Let's have a look at this. So we've got now, actually, DoctorOrgans is starting to produce his, so he's trying to pull a hell of a lot of troops back from his expansion. Look at that for a huge number of troops. He's going to want to group those together, or they're just going to be picked off one by one. He's accidentally sent a load of people there to collect resources, and how has they been so poor at taking out these elephants? No one's... God, this could be it for his civic centre very quickly, and he's queued up loads of people, and he's going to lose all of that. Yeah, this is going down. That's brutal. Although I do think that, so he's going to build another one. What may have been better for thankforpie there is actually to take over that civic centre, because then rather than this territory becoming having no owner, it would be his, and then that makes it that much more difficult for Stockfish to build his other civic centre. He's got to go and find a new piece of territory that's not currently been taken place of. So unbelievably, the populations are still relatively close. I'm really surprised by that. I would have expected that assault would have taken Stockfish well out of, would have put him right back, but actually it hasn't. It's been an excellent defensive display. He pulled people back when he needed to. He needs a healer for certain. It's interesting, he's now lost control of that, and it's not going to come back until that civic centre's there, so he's still just about got that barracks, but he can't produce anything because his population cap is that much higher. So these elephants that are headed back, let's have a look from thankforpie's perspective quickly. He should have, if he'd known and actually investigated a bit, he'd realised that there was no one in this other thing. He could destroy this other civic centre, which would give Stockfish almost zero chance. This is bizarre. Like, that's where skirmishers are next to useless. If you try and get them to attack something like this, the damage is impossible to do. He's just trying to get people now to safety. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. What's he doing here? He's trying to produce. If we look at, in terms of, they both got plenty of food. In terms of wood and everything, Stockfish is in a good position in terms of resources, but he needs to build up his population pretty quickly, because he's now got basically half the population that thankforpie does. And I'm not quite sure why thankforpie is not like trying to take over these buildings. If he could take over that and then maybe build something else, and he could get the situation, like, or destroy these houses, anything. There's a lot that he could be doing. What do we have here? Another barracks? Yeah. So we've got some barracks there. thankforpie's just left this one. That looks like a mistake to me, but you know, he's doing very well, so let's not judge too quickly. So he's got that, but still hasn't produced a healer despite having plenty of food. Produce a healer. These people need healing. So I mean, yeah, that's fine. They're now going to be healed while they're collecting resources. But what do we have here? What do these guys look like? Both sides, yeah, both sides have been a bit negligent in terms of producing healers. This is now much more what I would have expected. This is good play. The 3 catapults could do with spreading those out so they can cover one another, but I think actually he's got sufficient. Yeah, he's got sufficient soldiers to protect against that. But if, yeah, Stockfish is, he is spreading them out. Oh no, he managed to get them set up earlier than too early. Oh, he's got the healer. Well done. Just the one. Now you'll see the elephants will just go in no time. This guy's already gone. The Javelineers have a massive advantage over the elephants, so they will take out the elephants very, very quickly. But with this combination, I would have thought he'd go with catapults earlier, particularly if you're going with Cleopatra. She is there, and now she's going to get into range to allow the catapults to start really pummeling this civic centre, which is the right thing to do. He needs to get some Skiratai. He has got Skiratai on its way. Oh, he hasn't got the batch training upgrade. He really needs that. This is going to be too late. What does he have here? He appears he's got a load of people doing nothing. Right. I know that he's under pressure, so it's difficult because he's trying to keep this going, but he needs those Skiratai. And this is the problem, I suppose, with Spartans, is they have so many good swordsmen, but they're all infantry. Yeah, every single one. So you are always, when you're trying to get into catapults, if you don't have sword cavalry that can kind of come in, chop up and get out, then it's going to be very, very difficult. This, I can't see how long that civic centre can last. Not long at all. This is going. It's a case of can now. Yeah, can DoctorOrgans like regroup and get himself into a position where he's basically, I think, yeah, he's given up on this area. Yeah, that's, he's given up on that, and he's going to have to try and re-establish a foothold back here. He's got these guys trying to chop some trees. Still has plenty of resources. Still is not producing. He's got all. Yeah, he's got a lot of buildings that could be producing that aren't, and he hasn't captured the buildings that he needs. You got any healers here? No. Loads of food, no healers. He's really succumbed to a very, very good, very well structured attack. I think, although the populations aren't hugely different, and in fact in terms of resources he's looking better. I think if we look at it, and thankfully hasn't got any upgrades as well. That is actually bizarre. I'm shocked at that. Whereas DoctorOrgans does have some upgrades. He's getting a military mess hall. That's good. He's going to start to be able to produce some heroes. Champions. So he needs to possibly do a little bit of rejigging, working out how he's going to produce going forward. These guys are just going to be killed. This is being maintained by the Skiratai and this one thing. These guys might actually be able to take out the elephant. There's only 3 of them, but the elephant, no, they're not going to. We get it in no time. Yeah, that would have been interesting if they could have just actually taken out the elephant. So he's got his camel walking around, and that camel's going to die, but it has given thankforpie an idea of what's going on there, which is very, very useful. Obviously, any kind of intel is great. And is he producing one at a time? He's got so many different things. Why are you not producing? Hooray! And we have Brasidas. So he has gone for what you expect. Those skirmishes now are going to become absolutely brutal once we eventually see Brasidas. Sorry, where is he? I'm on the wrong person. Yeah, the javelin infantry. It's going to be a big bonus, but this particular attack from thankforpie has a great advantage in terms of the composition of the army is much more rounded. The catapults are going to produce a huge amount. He's got, because in order to win this fight, he's going to have to go after the catapults to begin with, which means getting closer when there's all this other stuff. So he's got these slingers, he's got these towers, which are no longer the primary focus. He's trying to take out the catapults before anything else, and trying to do that while you've got so many people firing on you is very difficult. It looks like going to actually take out a catapult or two, but while doing that, you can see, oh god, his population is just being absolutely brutalised. He's not able to produce. He's still got the batch training upgrade. He needs to try and take out these elephants. He's taken out the catapults, but at a cost, like a dramatic cost to his population. What's going to take place? Well, if the civic centre goes, that's it. He has got a couple of Skiritai who are doing a great job here of just messing around and attacking people. Let's see if they really do anything of any value. Again, this is good play. He's used the elephant as a decoy here. They're trying desperately to stop it, but what's going to happen is these guys will just come in from the other side. I think he has got rid of the elephant. No, he hasn't. Sorry, the elephant's just off screen, and it's decided to take out a storehouse. Quite why, I've no idea, but he can use his slingers, which he's got plenty of there, to start going after the civic centre. And once the civic centre's down, this game is effectively over, and he still has to try and deal with the elephant. What would be interesting is if the elephant would just take out houses actually at this stage, because if you take out sufficient houses, then it can be possible to do it. Although he's got another elephant here. If you were to capture the market, that would make things much more difficult for DoctorOrgans. They're just outside the range. I mean, in terms of getting people just outside the range of the civic centre, both players have been very good. We've got here a small group of skirmishers. They should be really targeting the elephant. They're not, and they're going to die because of it. These guys were running away. Oh, it's carnage, and he's just sending elephant upon elephant. He's actually got a group of soldiers here, 15 skirmishers. They're doing absolutely nothing. And with that, surely we have reached the end of the game. I can't see. Yeah, DoctorOrgans has resigned. There's no way back from that. So that's the end of it. It was very well executed strategy. What I liked about it from thankforpie actually was his reaction to his initial attack not succeeding in the way that he wanted. He went, kicked out the down here. So in that corner of the map up the top, right around 12 o'clock there was an expansion, took that out before piling back into that. It was really good display. It's the sort of display that you can see now that if DoctorOrgans were to play again, I would imagine he would win. He would be aware of what's going to happen, and he would know, oh, he's going to try and go phase 3 very quickly, and he's going to be bringing siege towers. Fine, I'll get my my Skiritai out earlier on in phase 2, get them building rather than collecting resources. And he could have done all kinds of things, but that's not how it worked in a one-off game, and that's it. It's like in the football, isn't it? Any team can beat any team on any given day. If we look at the stats here, you can see thankforpie, massively superior. The things that I like to see, kill death ratio was superb. For thankforpie, almost 2-1, and DoctorOrgans, obviously you're going to get the flip side of that. Both basically were farming. You can see thankforpie had a slightly higher proportion of his population made up of women. DoctorOrgans more map exploration, and Pete controlled more of the map, but what thankforpie did was just make advantage of what he had. He didn't need to do that. And if we look, you can see thankforpie actually killed almost as many units as he trained, whereas DoctorOrgans killed a lot fewer. So it was just a really solid display and a very interesting game to watch. So I hope you enjoyed that. thank you very much, and yeah, look forward to seeing you again in a week or so.